George of the jungle, strong as he can be.
Okay, sometimes people will get frustrated when they figure out that the underwriter tells them that they're making a lot less money than what they actually are making. We're going to go into a variety of different scenarios on that over time, but today I want to discuss what's called the 3-year rule. And that's what we're discussing in the creditjungle.com today. This is George Anderson. Thanks for dropping in. And there are certain types of income that I've listed up here that will have a defined benefit period. In other words, they don't go on in perpetuity, they don't go on forever. I mean, obviously your job doesn't either. I mean, there can be circumstances that come up for that. But the things that we're going to be talking about are things like child support, any types of like survivor benefit that somebody might be getting in behalf of a minor child, alimony, contracts and notes, and then income or earning assets. So what they want to look at, and the most common one that we run into, is child support. So child support, we're going to need a copy of the court-signed divorce decree. And whether you guys did it pro se without an attorney or did it by the judge, either way, there's going to be a judge's signature on it. That's the copy that the lender is going to need, is the court-signed copy. And whatever it states on there, it will typically have, partial names, initials, whatever, of the minor children. But then it would also list their birth dates. And in the state of Utah, they're normally just putting the initials of the children and then the month and the year that they were born. And then it's very typical, at least in the state of Utah, that child support is paid until the child turns age 18 or graduates from high school with their normal matriculating class, whichever comes later. So in other words, if you have a child who's got a birthday in the summer, they graduated from high school when they were 17 in the month of May, but their birthday's not until August, then the child support obligation for the person who's paying it would continue through August, at least until the end of August for that year. So, and if you have a kid whose birthday's in, say, November, and they turned 18 while they're in high school, but they don't graduate until May, the child support obligation would go until they would graduate with their normal matriculating class. So, in the case of that, we have to be able to look at the divorce decree, and if the birth dates aren't listed on the divorce decree, then we'll need to get school records or some sort of an ID, copy of a birth certificate to document what is the age of the child, and then where they are as far as high school and stuff. Are they ahead, are they behind, or whatever? But you got to figure out the long case scenario on that. So if somebody's receiving $500 a month in child support for a child who just say turned 15 or a few months back, but they graduated from high school this year, they're not going to be receiving that child support. Because if we're in June of 2020 right now, so somebody who would be graduating high school in 2023 but turned 18, say in March or April, there's less than 3 years left on that, and we cannot count that income on that. So just be aware of how that comes into play. The same thing with alimony. The alimony, if it's a specified period of time on the divorce decree, it's got to go on for 3 more years, and it's 3 years beyond the date that you closed the loan. So there's a little bit of ambiguity on that, but that's the date on that. Contracts and notes. Just did a loan for a lady that had built up a business, sold her share in the business, and she had a 10-year contract where they were buying out her, and she was staying on, had a position where she was on as a director on the board, but she was getting a partial lump sum, but then the rest of it was being paid out over time, and she was able to qualify for the loan based on that amount of income, but that income, that contract was up in November of 2023. So once she gets past the end of this year, technically there would have to be some sort of other income to be able to replace that. And then contracts and notes, so if somebody lent somebody some money, there would have to be 3 years remaining on that note. And if it's like a contract, we do a lot of seller finance contracts. If you want to count the income from that seller finance contract, it needs to have 3 more years remaining on it. And then the other one here is income earning assets. Sometimes you'll do a loan for somebody who is earning dividends, interest, income, whatever. If somebody's got $500,000 in the bank and you're counting the interest income or the dividend income they've been getting off of a stock portfolio, but they're withdrawing $250,000 of it or half of it to be able to put down, obviously there's less money available to be able to earn that, so you've got to make an adjustment on that as well. And then the other side of that is, so that's the 3 years going forward to calculate that, but you also have to have at least, well, in the case of alimony and child support, sometimes only need to document that that's been being received for 3 months. But these other types of contracts on here, you would need either 1 year or up to 2 years of a history. So a contract that only goes for 4 years, you technically have a one point in time where you've got a 1 year history and 3 years forward where that goes on there. So a lot of times you'll be sitting there, you know you're getting the income, you've been getting paid the income, you know that you're going to continue to get it for a time in the future, but if it's not meeting the time frames that we've discussed here, the underwriter is going to remove that income from your income calculation. So just some help on how underwriters look at your income, not always the way you would look at it, but that might help you plan for things a little bit more as you're setting up contracts. If you know that you need some time to do that, the longer term that you can get for that contract, the more likely you can count the income. So thanks for coming into thecreditjungle.com today. This is George Anderson. Remember, you can push button, get Mortgage Professional, and I would love to talk with you about your situation. Have a great day.